Here. Any conflict? Item 4, approval of minutes of the meeting of July 10th and July 17th.
I don't think anyone had a chance to review them. I'll make a motion, we defer action.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. We are going to jump the agenda to items H and I. Notice of violation of property located at 701 Kane Street. And I, notice of violation of property located at 705 Kane.
Good morning. I'm Gary Matthews. I was just employed by Mrs. Benita, the owner of those two properties, to represent her. Or review a formal notice of my representation. In that, I also request if we could continue the hearing for 30 to 60 days so I can get the city's information about it, check the records of permits and things that were issued, and see if we can resolve things without a hearing. That would be fine with me. 1023. Thank you very much.
Motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Back to item A, bid recommendations received from Neat Engineering for the Field Street Lighting Project.
Low bidder was Hawk Enterprises, $175,525.20, and the recommendation is to make the award to Hawk. So I'd like to make a motion that we concur with the recommendation.
Motion second, all in favor? Ayes have it. Change order number 1 received from Neat Engineering for the Monon Bike Trail and Bridge Project.
This is an increase in the cost of $26,460.98. This will be shared with the town of Munster, 50-50. This was for additional railing work and some additional bracing on the bridge structure itself and a French drain. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve all this additional work.
Motion and second, all those in favor? Ayes have it. Item C, change order number 1 received from Alice Construction for the Northcott Avenue Bridge Project.
This is a credit. It's a reduction in the cost by $4,347, and it's for Class 1 riprap. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve it.
Motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Item D, correspondence received from Chief of Police John Doty requesting approval of the Paul Frolic Jeannie Hamilton Memorial 4-mile run to be held on Sunday, November 2nd, 2014, with route and disposal authorization.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the run and the route.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Ayes have it. Hearing on property located at 584 Sibley Street.
My client hasn't arrived yet. I'm prepared to record one. Could defer it and have the hearing first.
We could do F, I think everybody's here for F, and we can just go back to E.
Item F. Hearing on property located at 4504 to 10 Holman Avenue.
Good morning. My name is Michael Munich. I represent the property owners. If I may approach, I have a submission. Get them put together. If I may approach. We are proposing to make some repairs to the structure. They're outlined on my letter of September 19th, 2014, directed to Mr. Cook. Copies were provided to Mr. Smith. As I understand, the parcel was originally owned by Hasselvotis out of an entity out of Chicago and was operated as a grocery store. Subsequently, they had financial difficulties. The bank took the property in foreclosure, and my client purchased it at sheriff's sale last fall. We've looked at the structure, we have an inspection report, we met with Mr. Cook, and we're proposing that certain temporary actions be taken. They're itemized, and I don't know if you want me to list them, items 1 through and including 11 on the bottom of the first and beginning of the second page, which would put the structure in a secure condition, improve the outlook of it, but reserve work on the inside of the structure until such time as an occupant is located for the structure. We're proposing to complete that work within 120 days. During that period of time, we'll also address zoning issues. As the property has been vacant now for some period of time, it's no longer grandfathered under the city's zoning ordinance, and we believe certain variances maybe have to be put in place in order to get an occupant for the structure. So we're requesting that you allow us 120 days to bring the structure into minimum compliance, and during that period of time, process the zoning and variances necessary to occupy the structure. Would request that you continue the hearing until your next meeting so that we can give you a status report and show you that we are complying with our proposed schedule to make remediation to the building.
Next meeting is a week away. Can be prepared in a week.
It would be the October, we won't be
What
prepared.
about 2 weeks, because October 2nd, I have to go to liquor board, and I won't be here, and I should probably be here.
So October 2nd,
No, October 9th.
October 9th.
Mr. Cook, you got anything to add?
No, I trust Attorney Cantor explicitly. If she wants to extend it, let's extend it.
Oh, I mean, just to clarify, I just received a motion to dismiss today. This isn't the city's rules, this is the Unsafe Building Act. Under the Unsafe Building Act, the very definition of an unsafe building is vacant or blighted and not maintained, and that would allow for human habitation, occupancy, or use under the requirements of statute ordinance. Now, the building itself on the outside is being maintained, and I will concede that prior to this ownership, it was not. But it has been boarded up for 2 years. Hammond has an ordinance which prohibits any structure to be boarded up more than 90 days. It has absolutely no power. The box is completely empty. There's no electrical power to it. So it is a vacant, boarded up building that cannot be occupied because it has no power. So it is an unsafe building under the Act and is subject to the Board of Works jurisdiction and orders. Now, if the owner is actually serious about making some repairs, like I said, 2 years have passed and there have been no repairs, that's fine, but let's get going on it. The neighborhood's tired of looking at it. It's got the sign up saying Hammond, Cardacia, and Fruteria for 2 years, and that building hasn't had that occupancy for 2 years. The sign should come down, and the new owners, whatever he's intending to put up there, perhaps maybe he'd like to advertise something new is coming.
If I may address those issues, item number 1, and I hesitate to belabor the point, they will engage the services of an exterminator to monthly check the premises and take such action as it sees fit to ensure that the area remains rodent and vermin free. 2, they will engage the services of a roofer licensed by the City of Hammond to inspect, repair, or replace the roof. 3, they will engage the services of an electrician licensed by the City of Hammond to restore electrical service to the structure and install such lighting as necessary to illuminate the interior, not necessarily to an occupied state, but with sufficient illumination to allow inspection, construction, repairs, and to restore sufficient circuits to power pumps, HVAC, or other building critical components, including exterior lighting. 4, they will engage the services of a mason licensed by the City of Hammond to inspect, repair, and tuck point the exterior of the structure to maintain structural integrity and prevent any further degradation of the building. 5, they will engage the services of an HVAC contractor licensed by the City of Hammond to inspect, repair, or replace such components of the system to provide the building with heat to avoid further freezing or temperature issues within the structure. 6, they will remove all exterior signage and paint repair any deteriorating exterior surfaces. 7, they will remove or clean, store interior fixtures on site, serviceable fixtures, shelving, and equipment for future use. 8, they will engage the services of a plumber licensed by the City of Hammond to repair or replace any interior pumps, ejector pits, or other necessary plumbing to avoid flooding or the accumulation of stagnant water, provide one functioning restroom for the convenience of workers, inspectors, or other personnel, and provide a potable water supply to the structure. 9, they will maintain a board-up condition as required by Hammond Code Section 150.070 until the use is determined for the structure and keep that condition maintained and painted. 10, they will continue to maintain the entrance to the structure in a locked and secured manner. 11, all of those items to be completed within 120 days. It's not like I'm walking away from the structure. I'm proposing something around $30,000 to $50,000 worth of repairs to put it in a serviceable condition so that it can be used.
Does your client own the parking lot north of?
Yes.
Goslin too?
Yes, that's the parking.
Any cleanup, because there's a lot of debris and stuff in that lot last time I saw.
We can do that. The last time I was there, I didn't observe any, but that was about 2 or 3 months ago. But yes, that can be done. That's not a
There's
problem.
quite a bit of weeds growing in there now.
We can take care of that.
If I may, I think, let's make sure we're talking about the same parking
Yeah,
lot, not
Nick-
the one adjacent to the building.
No, there's one across the street. There's either 3 or 4 lots. I can't remember how many they are on the north side of, I believe it's Goslin Street.
North and west.
Yes.
So does the work, do you plan on having, does the person plan on starting soon? Or you
Yes.
wait till like the 100th day to start?
No, I propose to have that completed within 120 days.
Okay, well, we've heard that before, they start on the 100th day and they don't get anything done.
No, I have
So how
to,
many days would you like to continue this for, sir?
at your convenience, it will take me probably, if you're going to approve this, it's gonna take me 30 days to get an architect engineered for the building permit processing, and I would anticipate construction work starting within the next 30 to 45 days.
And Mr. President, just before we go ahead and accept this, I need to make sure that everything that he's agreed to do is compliant with current codes. It's been vacant for more than a year. I don't know if one bathroom is adequate. I don't know if it has to be a handicap accessible bathroom because it's been over a year, ADA requirements. I don't know if they need a gender-specific bathroom for males and females. These are all things that Kurt Cook would need to weigh in on before the board accepts anything.
So you need like a couple weeks to review that with staff?
That's what I'm saying, that's why I would like October the 9th, so that Kurt Cook can look at it, because there may be some things they're willing to do that just aren't sufficient for current codes. It maybe has to be sprinkled, I don't really know.
I'd like to make a motion that we defer action until October 9th.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor? Ayes have it. See
That
ya.
would be at 9 o'clock? Thank you.
Item G, hearing on,
We gotta go back to E. Is your
hearing on
client here?
property located at 1009 Morris Street. 1009 Morris.
Anybody here for Morris?
Nobody's here for Morris Street?
Can we just bump it for a couple weeks since nobody seems to be here, either for the city or for the property owner?
When we had, when we got the agenda yesterday, we weren't sure of the street. By the time we got it that afternoon, we were looking for the file, the inspector's off on vacation. If we continue a couple of weeks, we'll try to contact them, let them know that the hearing was coming up.
Make a motion, we continue this till October 9th.
Motion,
Second.
all those in favor? Ayes have it. Item J, receipt of covenant of use restrictions on property located at 7144 Grand Avenue. 7144 Grand.
Oh, is this the,
Isn't that the one that cut up?
And that was the 2-unit.
this is the library?
Here about 3 weeks ago, is converting back to a single-family home. Yeah, we're allowing him to keep the upstairs kitchen, provided we get a use restriction as a single-family home.
Oh, we have that, don't we? Do we have a document? Okay, yes,
We probably should just acknowledge receipt of the document.
has it been recorded?
Say they need to file to record on the 27th.
Okay, then yes, then we're just acknowledging receipt.
We received this.
So acknowledged. Item K, correspondence received from Mr. James Callahan, Chief of Inspections, correcting a bid award previously submitted.
According to Mr. Callahan, the bid was awarded for demolition, was awarded to JM Industrial. In error, the correct lowest bidder for demolition for 644 Sibley was KLF Enterprises with a bid amount of $8,500. So noted.
That's just one parcel?
644 Sibley, that's one.
Item L, correspondence received from Councilwoman at Large, Janet Benez. Good morning, Councilwoman. Requesting the alley behind 834 to 850 Chicago Street be made one-way westbound for the safety of children attending Irving School.
I'd like to make a motion that we refer to Gary Gleason.
Chief Carter, Chief CC'd it to Gary also, so he's probably aware of it.
The motion? All those in favor? Ayes have it. Item M, Correspondence received from Balkan Products, 730 173rd, requesting signage preventing long-term parking on the west side of the business.
Weren't you guys there yesterday?
What was that, Drew?
That Balkan?
Right, across from Walgreens and.
We're actually across the street.
Oh, okay, I know I saw you walking.
Mr. President, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that place. I am actually familiar with it. There is no parking, and the problem is they have that little strip there, and people from the barber shop park, or people who live in the apartments park, and they park there all day and then nobody can get to the store. So they're asking either to have just a 30-minute parking, which would probably be best, because even if you're at the barber shop, then that's 30 minutes, or business parking only.
So it's,
We just need to.
81 on Jefferson.
Correct, right there by that little strip. There's a map. Yeah, we just.
Gary will.
Make a motion, we send this over to Public Works. Mr. Booth.
Motion,
Second.
all in favor? Ayes have it. Item N, garage sale permits submitted for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve them all but one. Mrs. Montez has to figure out which 2 days out of the 3 she would like. On Sheffield Avenue.
Motion,
Second.
all in favor? Ayes have it. Mr. Vasky?
I'm prepared to go forward.
I've got 4 items we could do under matters from other board members. First item is an agreement for easement. It's an ingress and egress easement for Antioch Tire. It's between the old recycling building and the Concord complex. The document was prepared by Mr. Wesson, so I'd like to make a motion that we, it just requires 1 signature.
Motion, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Board copy.
Next we have a letter from Kevin Margrat. It's a disciplinary action, 1 day off without pay, so I'd like to make a motion that we concur with his disciplinary action.
Second, concur. All those in favor?
Aye.
Concur.
We have 2 disciplinary actions from the police department. Is it 2 separate ones, or is it 2 separate individuals, or 2 separate for the same individual? Okay, so this one here, because of the length of time off, requires that we offer a hearing, so I'd like to make a motion that we contact the officer and offer him the opportunity for a hearing before the board.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Next, we have an addendum to the agreement with the Teamsters Local, Union 142, and it has to do with the employer contribution. And I think this has been reviewed by Chris and everybody, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve the addendum.
Second.
Motion, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
We'd actually received it last week, but we received an unsigned copy, so I didn't put it before the board.
That's all I have.
Mr. Bostic?
I apologize, I met with my client last week, I expected him to be here, comes from Illinois, so I called my secretary.
You want to check to make sure he's not waiting out in the hall?
Yeah,
I have, we'll check.
yes, he's in the courtroom, that's where everybody goes.
No, he knows.
Which is it, you want to see?
I don't see him, if you want to continue it, I don't have any objection, but if not, I'm ready to provide a defense. I appreciate the board having this hearing. The board knows it has had this matter before, but never had a defense presented, so I appreciate the opportunity. Is there prosecution?
We've had this hearing in front of the board twice now. Both times it's been affirmed as a 2-unit. Situation stands as it is. The only difference is that there's been an electrical permit pulled for the unit that was in question that was remodeled by Dick Brown's own admission. The problem I'm having with that is that as you look through those pictures, you'll see other electrical situations that as far as we know, they're still in that condition. That's another contention. At one time, it will be 7 units and a public meter.
Yeah, Mr. President, that's the issue of contention. This property has had varied occupancy since its history. It's a rather old building, as most of the buildings on Sibley are. At one point, there were 7 units. It might have just been people renting rooms, though. At one point, it was 4. And so I think we should really just start at the beginning of the permit history and just present all the evidence so the board can prepare kind of an order. I think the board's actually changed makeup since this case started.
Correct. Yes, it's been a couple of years.
Kelly, do you want to raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, would you please step to the microphone and tell the board how you first became involved with 584 Sibley?
Came in 584 Sibley from some police calls. So we set up an inspection, and that time there was also a fire. Got the run report from Rich Wheeler and decided we ought to do an inspection. Once we got in, walked through the building, as the pictures represent. One of those pictures represents the 8 banks of meters, 4 of only which are now active. So we still don't, if there's 4 units, you have 4 meters, we still don't have a public meter. The fire separation issues that are evident in the pictures are throughout. On the second floor, basically, the units have been split in half with a drywall wall. One of the hearings, the last hearing we had, the board had asked Mr. Brown or Mrs. Brown, who's the owner, to get a contractor out to establish fire separation. That was not done. Since it wasn't done, the board ruled it as a 2-unit. We've had the permit pulled for the electrical on the second, on the apartment that was remodeled by Mr. Brown. I believe it has been cleared by our electrical inspector to be turned on. However, the other electrical situations are outstanding. If this was to remain a 4-unit, they have to come under current code, since there's been no permits pulled, to change it from the 8 or 7 unit to a 4-unit to whatever was built as originally. Situation as it is unsafe as a 2-unit, it's unsafe as a 4-unit.
All right, now Kelly, when you say it's unsafe, what do you mean by fire separation? What would be required to make this property safe?
You know, 1-hour fire rating between units, including fire blocking at every horizontal venture. Wherever floors come through, there needs fire blocking. Every 10 feet, you need a fire block. This is a brick building. There's a picture showing there's evidence of fire separation between the units that is not there. Fire separation from the ceilings to the units above them.
What about, are there 2 means of ingress and egress for every unit?
No.
What would be required? For it to be a 4-unit, what sort of ingress and egress would be required?
The egress is, I'd have to probably defer to Mr. Cook, as I don't want to speak out of turn. Commercial side of things is not something I'm always completed in. I know that the egress as it is would probably meet egress, and again, I'd defer to Mr. Cook for that. But they do have 1 exit for each apartment.
If it was 2 units, would it be 2 units for each apartment?
Not necessarily. When the units empty into a common hall, you need an exit at either end. So if 1 exit is being blocked, the other exit would be accessible. In this case, there's 1 exit for each apartment.
Did you run a permit history on this property?
Yes, we did.
What did the permit history show on this property? When was it built?
1927.
Back in 1927, if it was to be built as a 4-unit, is there any requirements it would have that it appears not to have?
Yeah, the fire blocking situation.
But back in 1927, it'd be plaster and lath, wouldn't it?
Correct.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
I'm sorry, would it be plaster and lath as opposed to drywall?
Yes, it would.
Drywall wasn't invented in
Yes, it would be 3/4 plath with mesh backing.
Is there any issue with ceiling height?
No, it's seems to be appropriate for the time period. 7-foot minimum now, that would be met.
What What would it take to make this a lawful 4-unit?
I believe the biggest issue would probably be the sprinkler system. We'd have to separate the meters and electrical issues to allow for that public meter. So there'd be extensive electrical work that needed to be done, as well as sprinkler system. Sprinkler system?
Would a 4-unit require any sort of escape ladders or escape?
All means for egress, yes.
Awnings? What did you say, awnings?
No, all egress issues.
Oh.
Make sure that the windows were of proper egress size.
Are they proper egress size?
I believe so, yes. I understand it's been 2 years since we've been in this building. Currently, recently in the one unit that was remodeled by Mr. Brown. But the other units are,
Is
it's
there
been a while.
anything further on this?
No,
Does this property have a steel support beam, or wouldn't you know?
not that I recall.
I pass this witness for cross-examination.
Kelly, this is the notice of violation that was sent. You all have a copy of this? Is that correct?
I believe.
Okay. Where on there is any mention of this subject brought up today, egress?
As it stands, I don't believe there's any egress issues.
Okay, and when you and I have met on the property, and in the previous hearings before the board, was there any mention of an egress problem that you bring us to?
No, the only time I was with you at this property was for the electrical inspector to consider connecting electric to that apartment that was remodeled without a permit.
When did you make an inspection to determine that there was an egress problem?
As I said, I don't believe there's an egress issue.
You don't believe there is, okay. Thank you. Or ingress, egress, I mean, what you're talking about, there's no problem.
In or out?
Okay. One more time, Sure. I'd like to show you, or a picture of the meter on the outside of the building. You just testified earlier that there was no public meter. I believe if you look in the lower right-hand corner, that's the public meter. There's 3 units that have been, or 3 meters that have been taken out. There's clearly marked 4 units for the 4 units, and then there's a public meter. Is that correct?
I don't see where it says public meter. I do see that meter number 2 has been locked out.
Okay, thank you.
And actually, the public meter that you're speaking of in the lower right-hand corner has been locked out also.
It's not the same as the other 3, is it?
No, there's no tag on it. It's been locked up.
Thank you.
So we have 3 meters.
Thank you. So your theory on this is that this was originally a 2-unit and was cut up into 4?
My theory on this is we don't know what it was built as, but it's through your client's admission and through our research, it's been several things. What we're saying now is it should be a 2-unit. It's only going to be saved as a 2-unit. It's going to be a 4-unit. It's going to have to meet commercial code.
How did you determine that it should be a 2-unit?
On the second floor, where the 2 parts, the wall that separates the 2 apartments is simply just a drywall wall. That was obviously done post-war, not at the time of construction.
When you say obviously done post-war?
Drywall was not in common use in 1927.
And under what authority, so you're talking that there was well, here, I'm sorry, let me step back here, okay? So you don't deny that it's been a 4-unit?
It's a 4-unit as it currently stands.
Okay. And when you investigate a property, what are the steps you do to investigate property? You investigate records?
Certainly.
Okay. You investigate records from the Lake County Assessor's Office?
Yes, we do.
Okay, I'd like to...
I'm aware of that document.
Okay. assessor's office show that this building is in the property class 4 to 9 family apartments.
Yes?
You're aware that it also indicates that the building was built in 1927,
Yes, I stated.
and you're also aware that it shows 2 apartments on each floor.
Yes, I am.
Okay. You also, look at records from the Hammond Water Department, do you not?
Correct?
This is a copy of records from the Hammond Water Department that you, or that your department submitted to me in my request for discovery. It shows the deposit and 7 units, is that correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Would also like to show you property screening permit that you all gave me as a request for my discovery. What does give the fast track map mean?
Matsliga has been chosen to do inspections that are of immediate need. That's his change, but put it on a fast track so we can get in and do the inspection.
The alert on this for 1/2/13 was why?
For the fast track? That was,
Yeah,
there's
it
a,
says give the fast track map 1/2/13 and alert. What's the alert?
the alert is, that pops up when we enter that address, the alert will pop up and say that, to see notes. In those notes is the fast track mat. It was a matter of urgency because of the number of police calls and the situations that were going on there at the time.
I'm sorry, you said it's emergency because of why?
The number of police calls that were going on at the time,
How many police calls?
I don't have that in front of me.
Okay,
Not a matter of an issue. I mean,
okay. So you went to this because you say because of the number of police calls?
that's always brought to our attention, yes. And then the fire was subsequent.
What, so police calls is the reason that you went to this unit to inspect it for safety?
Part of it in doing the research, trying to understand how many units were there and how many should be there, how many units were there safely.
Okay, I'd like to show you some records from the Hammond Public Library, Calumet Room, city directories. The dates on these, 1923, before 1931, were you aware of the address of this building? It
I
was
would-
not 584.
It was 270 or something like that?
270,
Yeah.
okay. You see 1923, 24, 270, Mrs. Anna Gold.
Yes?
Okay, the next page, 1926. See 270. Frank Gold.
One moment, I don't have, it's chronological order here. So this is,
1926, Frank Gold, 270.
yes?
Okay, 1928. Do you have that one?
Yes.
270 is in the right-hand column. Do you see under construction?
Yes?
So 1928 was under construction.
Yes?
The next page, 1929. 270. See Frank Bolt, Anna Bolt, Edward Rourke, O.B. Leggett, Raymond Lytle, and Rose Wilhite listed.
Yes?
And given that we had Frank and Anna, we assume that they lived together in one.
Your assumption.
That indicates four residences.
No, that would indicate 5. If the folks lived together, you used to have Rourke, Leggett, Little, and Wilhite. So that's 5. Assuming that the folks live together.
I'm sorry.
On what the, so you have Frank and Anna Bolt.
Frank and Anna lived in separate units?
I can't say if they did or didn't. But let's say they lived together for case of argument.
You can't say that they did,
Okay.
and that's fine.
So we have the Volks,
Okay, 1931. Now, we changed the address in 1931, did we not?
I believe so.
Now we're at 584. Okay, and that's the right-hand column.
Yes.
See, it says apartments.
Mm-hmm.
1, Frank Volk. 2, Art Downing. 3, Joseph Maloney. 4, vacant. 5, John Hawk. 6, Paul Human. 7, vacant. Is that correct?
That's what it says. I wonder what happened to Mrs. Volk.
Excuse me?
So I wonder what happened to Mrs. Volk. She's not listed here.
Well,
Tough here.
God bless her.
God bless her. Rest in peace.
Okay. Okay. Okay, now I want to show you what was given to me as far as your permanent record. Okay? And these are the records that you have in your department of all the permits on this property, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And how are these records kept?
Ledgers. Most, now they're on we took the ledgers and put them on a spreadsheet.
Okay, but so this isn't the actual record, is it not?
No, this is off the spreadsheet.
Okay. And so, you weren't around in 1924, were you?
No, sir.
I know sometimes we feel that old.
Today's one of the days.
1924, 584 Sibley, GA. What does GA mean?
Garage.
Okay. 1992 Sibley remodeled apartment building, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, we saw earlier on these records that the building was under construction in 1926, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you've indicated that it was built in 1927, the current building, is that correct?
That's correct, according to the
Where's that
assessor.
permit on this,
It's not.
It's not. So this may not have all the records of permanent work on it. This sheet that you show, is that correct?
If some work has been done without a permit, then you're correct. We would not have record of it. Permit was never
So
pulled for
are
it.
you saying this building was built without a permit?
I don't have the permit to say that it was. You can assume that there was a permit, there wasn't. It was a permit,
You can assume there was a permit, but it's not listed on this building permit sheet, correct?
that's correct.
So your building permit sheet is not necessarily a all-encompassing record of permits for the address, is that correct?
Well, I can't speak for someone that was doing the work in 1927. We have that ledger book. You're free to,
You can't speak for someone whose work was done in 1927, yet in your presentation and in your write-up, you refer to issues before, before the current date with no problem. But in this matter, you have a problem with that.
no, I don't have a problem with that, sir. If there isn't a permit, there isn't a permit. It's not in a ledger. It may not be in a ledger. Why it's not in a ledger, I can't attest to that.
I just want to show you one other record that you have given me in the past. And this is a record of another property.
What does this have to do with what's going on here?
It's 1010 Hoffman, but it's a record of permits. And was that, behind that is a building permit issued by the building department on 3/11/08. Where is that listed on this permit history?
It's not in the ledgers.
All right, Mr. President, I don't think we've got the file here for 1010 Hoffman. We're here on 584 Sibley. So I'm not sure the building department's prepared to answer questions about.
Well,
That's correct.
It's very obvious that there's a building permit here that is not on the list that they've provided me this year. Just another example of how their lists are not all encompassing.
You gotta do 1010 Hoffman, I'll get the file, we'll do it.
Fine. You guys already dismissed that. I'm not asking, that's not an issue here. The issue here, when I bring that up,
Let's just finish the
what
order.
is the issue here, when I bring that up, is another example of how their permit log is not accurate, which they depend on for their conclusions, okay? Now, you mentioned fire separation, is that correct? There's a problem,
That's correct.
okay? Now, and again, how do you determine that?
By lack of
Excuse me?
pictures, you can see in the pictures that we provided for you that there's clearly floor space that's opened up. The drywall wall in between the second floor apartments.
Okay. Now, those pictures you showed are 2 years old, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So they do not necessarily represent, and you've also acknowledged that there's been subsequent electrical work under permit, is that correct?
That's correct.
So those pictures do not necessarily reflect the current conditions, certainly as far as electric.
In regards to that permit that was pulled, if the board would look at that permit, if I may,
Answer the question, please.
I don't believe, no, I believe the conditions is as it is in the pictures that were stated because of the permit that was applied for, because the permit that was applied for, if I may, board.
The answer was, this is cross-examination. I asked questions.
It's a board of works hearing.
It's a hearing. You're trying to take property away from an individual. Property is one of the highly respected rights in this country.
Try to make it safe for whoever's living there, counselor.
You're looking, yeah, and you see that these pictures are 2 years old. You see that there's been a permit for approved electrical work since then.
If I may comment on that permit that was issued. On that permit, it states on there that work to be done on that apartment that was remodeled only.
Questions. I have a right to cross-examine.
You mentioned the permit, I
He
didn't.
had a right to present his case.
I have a question for you, Mr. Bob.
Yes, sir.
You said that you're asking Kelly if the permit, the electrical permit, the pictures are 2 years old.
Yeah.
So are you stating the fact that maybe there was drywall work done in,
No, I'm not stating that. I'm not stating.
so have the pictures changed?
As far as the electric goes,
As far as fire rating or anything? Is that what you're saying, that the pictures are 2 years old?
yeah, but that's why I just wanted to point out to you that
Hold the
the
permit for
electrical
electrical.
conditions there that are represented in those pictures is not the current electrical situation.
It's right after the picture.
But his issue, but excuse me?
There was electric permit pulled to do the work, right?
If you see the permit, I believe the copy of the permit is in there. If you read the notes on the permit,
I don't want to get in trouble here, hold on.
yeah.
So the electrical permits were pulled and electrical work was done?
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
So did that get inspected after the fact, or does it have to be inspected after the fact that the work is done?
Yeah, I believe it has to because the contractor work
So electrical work
is done. Electrical work is done. And that was in a unit that was under, that had fire, to be clear. That was,
can I ask you a question?
it's your hearing, sir.
The electrical work's done. Are you guys satisfied with the electrical work?
No.
Okay.
Well, let me, the electrical work in the apartment that was remodeled by Mr. Brown has been, I believe, passed, and I believe power's been restored there. If you see in the pictures, there's other outstanding electrical issues that have not been met, and specifically on the permit that was applied for and gotten is not addressed.
So the permit was only pulled for the building that had the room, the apartment that had the fire in it.
Correct.
Any other part of the building, no electrical work was supposed to be done?
Specifically mentioned in the permit that he applied for.
When has the client been notified that there are other electrical needs, in your opinion, elsewhere in the building? Has the client been notified? Have I ever been notified of that? And I represent this client now for,
Mr. Basti, you received a copy of all the pictures. If you cannot spot the electrical issues that are in there, your client was advised at the time of the inspection and since several times by me personally in a conversation that you were not privy to.
and so then when you and I were at the building inspecting the fire unit and what had to be done with the electrical inspector, you did mention that there was other work that needed to be done.
And your client did not mention that he was only going to pull a permit for that apartment specifically. That has come to light since the permit was pulled, and on the contract, it specifically states only to be done in the apartment that was remodeled. There are still electrical issues that are outstanding. I have no reason to believe that they haven't been corrected. If they have been corrected, they've been corrected without a permit.
Okay, well, what I'm hearing you say is that this issue has come up since then, and there are still outstanding electrical issues to be done. I'm sure that we can work with you on that, but I don't believe that's an issue here, right here. I'd like to move on, if that's okay with the board. Okay? I'd like to show you some fire department records.
The run report and the drawing.
You have the run report? Okay.
Which we are drawing?
Yeah.
Okay, the road report indicates on page 1 that the building is a 2-story, 4-apartment structure, is that correct?
I'm sorry, rephrase, or ask again, please?
The road report states at the top of the second paragraph that it's a Do you need a refresher on?
No, sorry, I was talking to my boss.
Okay. The building is a two-story, four-apartment structure,
Yes?
and also that the fire was in the kitchen area of the unit and spread to the bathroom due to an open door. Is that correct?
That's correct. The fact that the inspector labels as a four-unit apartment doesn't mean that it's code compliant, though.
I'd also like to Are you familiar with this document?
Let me take a look at that. Yeah, this is part of the run report that the Yeah.
I just copied the front page and then one of the inside pages. And what I'm interested in is on the second page I'll give you, it indicates the fire was contained within one unit, is that correct?
That's correct. Well, there was water damage in the apartment below. Yeah, you know, the power was shut off
I'd like to show you the electrical permit that was pulled that you testified to.
there. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you've testified to this, it says, working done required with kitchen, bathroom, GFI, new breakers for kitchen, no work anywhere else in the building. That's JW.
Juanita Woods.
And what is her position?
She's a administrative assistant at the window.
Does she
Issue
take,
permits.
Does she take directives from you?
Indirectly, I'm not the office manager.
But there's no work anywhere else in the building. Is that something that you told her to put on there?
Absolutely not. That's something that was beyond the contract.
Excuse me?
That's something that would be on the contract and the description of the work to be performed.
Okay, so. But that work has been done, is that correct?
I didn't inspect it, I had to ask the electrical inspector.
But since it's been, you've already testified that you thought it was done and inspected, re-inspected and all that, is that correct?
That's my belief.
And again, these electrical violations that you're talking about in addition to this room is something that, your position is, we've been notified of by pictures with no description on them, is that correct?
Is there
Was
any,
there any other written?
I was there anything about electrical issues? No, that would just be for the units. Would be in the, yeah. Hammond Municipal Code 151.16, electrical inspection department system, no permits obtained to do the work. The electrical inspection department system, no permit was obtained to do the work on the first floor apartment also.
Now, did you inspect the first floor and the second floor that are on that notice of violation
2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago?
Yeah.
And you said that there was no permits that you could tell from your permit log, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. If something is done without a permit, how do you know that it's unsafe? It is possible that if as true, your records are complete, and if true, this work was done without a permit at some time, how do you know that the work was
As we did for
unsafe?
your client in the second hearing, we asked him to obtain a contractor to establish fire separation. That's how we would determine. I can't determine if it's safe or not. That's why we would require a contractor to come in and establish that. How can you determine that it is safe?
You don't know that it's unsafe.
I don't know that it is safe.
Okay. Now, and I'm wrapping up here for it. The fire separation issue, under what authority you have that as an issue?
What do you mean under what authority?
Well, I mean,
Are you trying to say you don't think you need fire separation?
no, Chief, I'm not saying that. My point is there's lots of buildings in this city that were built
We're working on it.
pre-war. Right, exactly. And if you want to tear down every building that was done pre-war,
For a matter of record, I don't want to tear down any building. I just want someone to be safe in the property that you're living in and hold the landlord responsible for that.
Question, under what authority do you say
as the Code Enforcement Commissioner of the City of Hammond. That's my authority.
All right. You're aware of this document, because I provided it to you in the past, I provided it to the board in the past. Again, this is on 1010 Hoffman, but the lessons on this are directly applicable to the situation.
Can we not talk about 1010 Hoffman and,
1010 Hoffman is a frame structure. This is a brick building. We're talking about apples and oranges.
Can I ask,
3-unit as opposed to a 4-unit.
I just have a question real quick. Kelly, this picture here, you wanna come look at it so you can help me out here? Which floor, which was the fire in the second floor? Is this the second floor of that apartment or what?
This is the second floor.
On the right-hand side? Okay, so this is on the fire apartment?
and Mr. Muskie, I understand the parallel you're trying to make, but, you know, let's.
Okay, I say that for the record then, Your Honor. For the record, the state statutes are that any building, ordinance that is more strict than the state, fire code has to be presented to the state for approval. That has not been done by the city. The city since 1996.
Is that a state statute?
Yes, it is. I have it here. If you'd like. There's a state statute also that asks for written opinions that are binding on the city. The city has received this as a written opinion, okay? So if you acknowledge that as you have, then I'll move on and we'll bring this to a close, if that's okay. I'd just like to show one other. This is a diagram drawn by Inspector Wheeler, Fire Inspector Wheeler. I just want so the board can see. From his report, he indicates the fire was in the kitchen and was contained in the kitchen and the bathroom, which had an open door. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Where in this are you, in this diagram, can you point to that the fire separation issue is an issue with you?
I believe this is facing north, so if you look at the east wall where bedrooms 1 and 2 are, that would be the apartment next to that. That's where the fire separation issues begin. That is the wall separating, the drywall wall separating the apartment on the west side to the apartment on the east side.
Okay, I have nothing.
I also believe there may be a fire separation breaches from the first floor to the second floor.
Possibly. Nothing further, Your Honor. For you, the board. With this witness.
Not really.
All right, city doesn't have any other witness.
I'd just like to make a quick closing statement, but I defer to them if I make a closing statement of the prosecution in this matter.
Say the closing statement.
I mean, Mr. President, I think it's clear from you did receive the pictures, that there's some work that needs to be done on this property if he wants to keep it a 4-unit, and the most important thing of the city is making it safe. And right now, in its present condition, or the condition reflected in those photographs, it is not safe.
Thank you. Mr. Vosky, before you give your closing statement, question.
Yes, sir.
Is your client going to bring this building up to code and make it safe?
Yes, he's willing to make it safe with the electrical. The fire separation issue, Your Honor, there have been other alternatives that Mr. Kearney, the board, Callahan, and Cook have approved for added fire separation, which is a particular paint with an additive that provides extra separation. He's willing to do that to provide extra separation. My point is,
Has that been presented to the building inspector and Mr. Kearney?
Mr. Cook,
Mr. Cook?
was this special paint talked to you about?
There are paints that are approved, you all listed, that you can apply, properly install, can provide proper fire separation between units. It has nothing to do with fire blocking, those break construction, things of that nature. This is 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we ruled that it was illegal. I can't remember what happened 2 years ago, I really don't. But if his client wants to bring something up to code and the zoning does allow it, probably just need to bring it up to current code, not the code at the time. what he was saying about we're trying to enforce codes that are stricter than the state obfuscation. I mean, he's just trying to confuse the issue. We never have. Hammond adopted 30 years ago the state code, and we follow the state code item for item. We just don't do that. State law says that if a building was built in a particular use at the time it was constructed and according to code, and the usage does not change throughout the years, they're allowed to keep them. And this is not the case. The usage, by his own admission, has been a 2-unit, a 4-unit, a 7-unit, that's fluctuated back and forth. So the codes that would be relevant for us to enforce would be the current building codes, because it doesn't qualify under, and you might want to quote me, 675 IAC 12-4.1 or something like that. Well, thank you for admitting that. So by his own admission, they've changed the usage throughout the years. So the minute you change the usage, you go into current code. And now he wants to change the usage again, so it's today's code. And if he wants to comply with today's code, I'm more than happy to go on.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. I'd just like to say a couple of things, okay? First off, my contention is that the extra 3 units were in the basement. There's been no presentation that there was other than that. Basement is rather big. The second thing is, I'm not obfuscating. The report from the state building code enforcement officer per statute, and I'll give you copies of those statutes, is binding ruling on the city. And that ruling that he issued was in response to questions whether fire separation has ever been presented to them by the city, and the city is able to enforce that. I don't have a problem with safety, and Mr. Brown will work. I will tell you, it's been very difficult. It took several months to get even a permit to get the electrical guy in there to work, and we hope that the board would stress to the code enforcement department that they should cooperate as much as they can to expedite this. The second matter is that we will certainly make it safe with electrical. We'll make it safe if we need to with the paint and the paint additive. These 2 units, right now, there's 4 units. 2 of them have been vacant for 2 years. The city has not allowed, and my client has complied, has not had those 2 units rented. The city wants us to go down to a 2-unit. That will make this building totally economically infeasible. It's right across the street. It's in Central Hammond, right across the street from the library. You would have double the rents. You're talking about rents nearly $1,500 a month. I don't think that the market, I think you're aware that the market would not bring many buyers to that. So what they're basically asking to do by going down to 2 units is to make this building vacant. We would submit to the board that there's a historical record. This has been 4 units. It has been 7 in the past. We would also submit to the board that the record-keeping, permitting that they rely on to determine if there's been permits or not, by their own admission, is not all-encompassing. So we would indicate to the board that we are willing to work to make this a safe 4-unit. What I'm hearing is we need to get electrical out there, and that we need to determine where and how fire separation has to be applied. We will work with the city on this, but we want to work fast because my client is facing economic hardship. It's been nearly 2 years, it's been over 2 years, that he has not had income from 2 units. And it's an economic hardship. We would appreciate the board's consideration in this matter. We would appreciate the board's finding that it can go down to a 4-unit with appropriate safety concerns addressed. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may, I want to put this electrical issue about the permit to rest once and for all. I've had several conversations with Mr. Brown, including Mr. Vosti. They want us to reconnect an apartment that Mr. Brown remodeled, that he did the electric on. We would not do that. We're not going to do that because there's no permit, it was not inspected. I told Mr. Brown on every occasion I could to get an electrician in to verify that the electrical was going to be safe to be reconnected. Once they did that, everything was fine. We never denied them the opportunity to get an electrician to make sure that the work was put in safely.
Okay, hold on. Is that true?
We have had an inspector in there who said it was safe. We got a licensed electrician in to tidy up the work, to do.
Did Mr. Brown do the work himself?
I'm not prepared to address that. The city brought this matter into the Hammond City Court. What I will tell you, Chief, is that I was there with the electrical inspector and Mr. Kearney to look at the work that he alleges Mr. Brown had done. The electrical inspector said it's okay right now, but I want to talk to the licensed electrician to get in here who's going to button it up. There needs to be some buttoning up.
Has that been done?
Yes, that isn't done by permit.
That was a permit that was applied for the second.
By a licensed electrical contractor.
Okay, for the apartment that had the fire.
Yes, that is now safe.
Let's go to the other 3 apartments.
The condition.
You guys need to have work done on those 3 too, am I right?
Absolutely. The condition as it is, I mean, we're talking about the banks. We had a bunch of banks that are for 7 units in the public. The electrical system is going to have to be redone. Specifically because of the pictures that we show, the state that it's in now, overcrowded boxes, junctions that have been broken apart. This is by no means done just because a permit was pulled on this apartment specifically. The issues are as they are.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So is Mr. Brown willing to get a licensed electrician in there to finish the work on the other 3 buildings so they can be inspected by the city?
Yes.
Get everything ready to go?
Chief, I would say, of course he would be, but I will tell you this is, I mean, he's presented pictures. I would like to see in writing what exactly he wants done, okay? There's pictures with no, I mean, I don't know what he wants done. We want to know what needs to be done, we'll do what needs to be done to make this safe as soon as possible.
Then may I suggest,
So we can reopen it.
Mr.
We can't, as a code official, say, do this, do that, do this. We have to say, bring it up to code. There's a myriad of ways to do so. And without actually looking inside of a wall to see what type of wiring he has, whether it's cloth or aluminum, where the junction box is buried, we just don't know. So he has to get somebody to bring it up to code, and he'll discover discrepancies or deficiencies throughout the process.
Understand. Mr. Voski, do you think Mr. Brown would be willing to enlist a licensed electrical
He has in the
contractor
past,
to go through the entire building and document?
what needs to be done to bring it up to code. I don't see that's the problem. I will say that would have been addressed before now if we knew that was a problem, and we never do that. But yes, that will be addressed. But the pictures have no, anyway.
No, understand, I mean, you know,
Thank you.
Okay, if he was his grandfather.
they're worth
So are you happy
1,000 words,
with the
but
4 units, it brings it up to current code?
And it's been the way it's
Attorney
always.
Cantor?
I would just ask that the board take it under advisement for 30 days and issue a written ruling.
Motion be taken under advisement, issue 30 days.
Motion and a second, question. Attorney Cantor, do you think it's reasonable if, Mr. Brown was the, electrical contractor to go through and identify electrical code deficiencies?
I mean, that's up to Mr. Brown to determine the reasonableness, but it seems reasonable to me.
May I suggest,
Mr. Brown.
may I offer Mr. Cook to go through the property and establish, so when the contractors pull permits, we have an idea of what the layout is. He can see our pictures. He wasn't present during our inspection. If it's going to come to current code, I would think he would want to see the layout, the floor plan, and the walls in situations as they are.
So then what Mr. Cook just said before was that it's impossible for them to tell us what the problem is. Now he's saying, well, let's do that.
This way, he would be aware of anything that may be a situation that would, is going to cause a concern.
If it's reasonable.
Well, you know, the issue is, the electrical contractor can identify the code deficiencies, but he cannot identify the use And, you know, that's where you're gonna have, you know, a void. So, the electrical contractor in conjunction with Mr. Cook can probably go through.
2 units will have different requirements than a 4 unit. Two different code requirements. I'm just curious, Counselor, if the board were to say it can be a 4-unit apartment building providing it meets current code requirements, will you accept that?
I think we have some disagreements as to the application of some code requirements.
So then we're back, you want the board to rule?
I will, yes, and I will be willing to, and I have said before, that we'll address these electrical issues that have not been brought up to us before today.
Yeah, we can't address the electrical issues until we decide on whether it's a 2-unit or 4.
Well, I disagree with that. We've already addressed the electrical issue in the fire, in the unit that had the fire that was contained to the unit. We've already addressed that without.
So there's absolutely no compromise with you?
No, I'm not saying that.
Are
I'm
you
not
willing
saying
to
that at all.
compromise?
I'm certainly willing to compromise.
What
Let's-
we're suggesting
let's hear what you
is
guys
to
have to
allow
say.
a 4-unit, providing it meets the current code requirements.
Well,
Simple.
For the board's purposes,
I
the
mean,
board
we're-
can do what it wants
yeah.
to. I will
Hey.
certainly meet with Mr.
The
Cook.
board's gonna
Thank
do
you.
a ruling, so I mean,
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Moving along. Any matters from the board? Oh, sorry. Any matters from, any matters from other department heads or their representatives? New business? Old business? The meeting is now open to the public. Sir?
My name's Steve Skirmont, and I'm supposed to have this work done by the 30th for demolition on Alice.
5502 Atlas.
Yeah, I've been laid off for 8 weeks, and I'm still in the process trying to get a loan, so I'm just requesting more time.
Mr. President, just for clarification, this is a property that was placed on the order to repair or demolish. He was sent a rehabilitation agreement back in May.
Okay,
None of the work has been completed, no permits have been pulled, the building remains in the exact same condition. So we sent him a letter saying, please remove your property from this, we're gonna take it down by October 1st. What the board really needs to know is if we extend it, is anything gonna happen, or is it just gonna sit like it's sat since April through the winter and get even worse?
no, it's not gonna sit because,
5502 Alice, it's that one that kind of sort of, is almost on Fayette,
yeah, it's on Fayette, and
5502.
Alice, over.
A-L-E-X?
Alice.
Alice.
In Jacob Square.
Excuse me. 5502.
What's your intention, sir? Can you start working on it?
yeah, I wanna start working on it. Now I'm back to work full-time. I was laid off for 8 weeks, so it was, you know, it's real hard to get, you know, the work done,
Have you pulled any permits yet?
and not yet, no.
How much time do you need?
I would say this time next year.
Oh, that's pretty long.
I know it's a long time,
12
but,
months?
I mean, can you start the work soon?
yeah,
Is it occupied?
no, no.
Did you get some evidence, maybe a letter from your bank that you are pursuing the financing to get this done?
Well, right now, I'm in the process of getting my credit up there before I get the loan. And
Well, the problem is,
I can't get you, you know,
you haven't even attempted to pull a permit yet. And even if you go down and pull the permit tomorrow, that doesn't mean you're gonna start the work now. You might not start it for 8 months. I mean, well, I guess the permit's only how long?
90 days.
So 3 months.
yeah.
I'd like to help you, but I mean, there's gotta be some evidence that
Mm-hmm.
something's gonna take place. And to ask for a 12-month extension before anything happens is just not reasonable.
Well, in the wintertime, it's kinda hard to
Yeah.
do work
You know,
outside.
wintertime, you know, you can work on interior, I mean, there are issues
Yeah.
that can be worked on in the wintertime, all the time.
Mhm.
Power going to the house?
No. Yeah.
Generators.
I mean, on the outside, to make it, you know, presentable for the outside, it's, you know, before wintertime. I mean, there was old,
Answer?
This property has been vacant for quite a while. The city actually cut the power through NIPSCO. Nothing's happened since April, and if nothing's happened when the weather is good, I can't imagine anything's gonna happen when the weather gets bad.
Do you live, you don't, well, apparently there's no power, so you don't live there?
well, I have, it's a house on my property, and I live in the other house next to it, but it's on my property. I mean, I can walk a few feet and I'm to that other
Is
house.
it possible for you to start doing something within the next 30 days to show,
Sure.
I mean, yeah, but there's no power, that's the problem.
I mean, is it,
And
Yeah,
it-
but
Well,
if he's
at least-
next door, he can run an extension cord from his house.
Right,
That's true.
But I'm just saying, the city's not gonna reconnect the power until he passes an inspection, which means he's gonna have to do more than just a nick of paint. He's gonna have to, you know,
what's the reason the place is, like it is? Was there a fire in it? Was
No,
it planned? Did you buy
neglect,
it?
just time,
It's,
age.
it's
How long have you
it's an
owned it?
older house.
How long have you owned it?
I mean, about 14 years.
Pretty much, was it rented out?
What needs to be done on the outside?
I'm sorry, Peter's got it.
Windows, siding, stuff like that.
So you've owned both properties for 14 years, but you just never did any work to this one, you just let it run down? Is that-
Well, no, not that bad. I mean, not run down that bad.
Oh, I mean, it doesn't have power.
Well, not now, no.
Doesn't have power because we had to still cut it at the bolt because it was a fire trap.
Was it rental?
It was actually rented, when it was first put on there, under order to demolish or repair.
I mean, to be on the demo list, it's gotta be, it's not pristine.
Right, right. I can, get some work done, started. Now I'm back to work, and,
Well, at first you have to start getting some permits pulled or
well, that's no problem.
Can you start something within the next 30 days and come back to show us that you started something?
Yeah,
And then Kelly, do you guys need to look at it, or Kurt, do you guys need to look at it before the 30 days to show that he's been doing something? So can we go to October 23rd,
Status in 30 days?
status in 30 days?
Try that, yeah.
Sir,
pardon me?
can we have you come back here in the next,
Yeah.
in 30 days?
No problem.
Show some type of, works being done?
Mm-hmm.
Motion to status for 30 days.
Second?
Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Make sure you pull the permit, try and make some progress, give us a reason to
Yeah,
help you out.
I know times are tough, but, I'm trying to.
Understand.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the public wish to address the board?
Motion adjourned.
Motion second, all those in favor? Aye.